Alright guys, I'm sick and I wasn't gonna make this video until next week, but I can't wait. I have to tell you, do not buy Redfall. Hell, don't even get Game Pass for it. If you already have Game Pass, avoid this one, but definitely do not renew your Game Pass for Redfall. It is not worth your time, it is not worth your money, and honestly, it's a disaster. So yes, I had to make this video as soon as possible to let you guys know. So, let's get into it. Now, before I share my brutally negative impressions of Redfall, I first wanted to acknowledge that even bad and buggy games are still created by hardworking people just trying to make a project as best as they can. The cards don't always fall right in game development. Sometimes projects are doomed from the start, as publishers and owners ask developers to build something out of their wheelhouse. Sometimes projects fail as they take shape, never congealing into a solid, cohesive vision. And sometimes they fail after release because of a multitude of reasons, like not giving enough new content or not fixing the technical issues, things like that. And through the impact of immediate word-of-mouth opinions alone, that can ruin your whole game immediately. Now, Redfall seems to be that rare beast that seems to have suffered during all three phases: before, during, and after development. And so I do feel bad. Many people spent a long time working on this project, and within hours of it coming out, most players and media outlets within the gaming world have written it off as completely underwhelming and a failure. Months and months of people's hard work cast aside as crap before we even got out of launch day. And it's absolutely brutal, especially because of the larger connotations for Microsoft and Xbox. More on that later. So, as a whole, I do feel bad for those who spent so much time on this, because for many, it's an easy skip, an embarrassment to Arcane's legacy, and just a bad video game. Now, on to the impressions. What I've just spoken on so far is the consensus of how people are feeling online. And while I tend to agree, I need to preface my impressions with this. I played Redfall for only about 2 hours. Is there a chance it gets better as you play more? Yes. Have I given the game a completely fair chance? Probably not. But that's because my first impressions were so damning on every front that I couldn't be bothered to play something I wasn't enjoying when so many other games are out there right now. So to be fair, these are completely first impressions, that's it. I don't have a ton of footage, so it's not going to be a lot of editing in this video, but I had to get it out there. I want you guys to know, do not buy Redfall, and here's the reasons why I couldn't stick with it. Let's start with gameplay. Immediately upon taking control of my character, something was off. The motion blur, the camera sensitivity, and the lighting had me feeling sick. I played around in the menus for a bit and got to something tolerable, but still not comfortable. That's because aiming still felt quite sticky, and that's absolutely deadly in a first-person shooter where quick accuracy is the difference between creating a corpse and becoming a corpse. Enemies would hardly be moving, and I'd still struggle to line up and connect on shots even after getting my bearings with the feel of the controls. Also, the enemies are brain dead, rushing out of cover to stand in open streets as if to say, please shoot me, I don't even want to be in this game, take me out. Not only that, but it was often hard to tell where the enemies were firing from. Here, an enemy fires from behind a bush. It hits me because its AI knows where I am, but I can't see it, so I'm forced to run or fire blindly. And on top of this, I played as a character with a skill that's supposed to mark enemies. It's a raven that flies in a straight line and marks them. However, if the enemies aren't all lined up for your raven to go across, you just don't mark them, I guess. I could never get them highlighted. So each fight I had turned into this hula hoop act where I was spinning around just trying to locate foes to shoot while they pelted me sight unseen. I died a few times to this crap and then wondered to myself, why am I even shooting at humans? I thought we were here to kill vampires. Well, in the 2 hours I played, I mostly fought humans. In fact, many of them shared the same exact skin, making it feel like I was fighting multiple man from Marvel Snap. It was like a clone of the same dude over and over again. And now I get the impression that combat is supposed to be this back and forth, where you are supposed to take cover and then fire on your enemies. In fact, the game tells you this. But there's no systems built around it, such as even like a simple cover prompt in which you duck behind an object and can fire around it or over it. No, it's literally place your character behind cover and peek out. Not very helpful against enemies who already blend into the dark environments. So fights with humans were terrible. And when I did fight those vampires, those weren't much better. Shooting them didn't cause recoil, even point blank with a shotgun sometimes did nothing, so they often still got hit in or at least closed the distance. The lack of impact along with the poor sound work on weapons led to combat not having much crunch to it. It felt floaty and toothless, like we were using Nerf guns installed with a speaker that played shitty gun sound effects. And as for those vampires, they have to be killed with a weapon that has a stake on it. If you don't use a stake, they revive their health in due time. And that's fine, but what sucks is switching to a weapon that has a stake. There's no weapon wheel, just a quick toggle that works for games with just 2 weapon slots, but not with any more. It was functional, but I found myself skipping past the stake weapon a few times, and that sucked. So I'm all over the place, and I know that, but I had to get this video out there as soon as possible, so forgive me for that, but so many issues. The core component of combat, the back and forth of gunplay, it felt abysmal, and that's damning for a first-person shooter. The foundation is rotted at worst and boring at best. So everything built on top of it then will struggle, even if it's quite good. But yeah, that's not the case here either. There's 4 playable characters, of which I only played as one. I think his name was Jacob. He seemed to be a stealth-based character owed to his ability to mark enemies, as well as go invisible for a brief period of time. He also gets a big-ass sniper rifle at some point, but I didn't get that far. I chose him because the other 3 characters didn't interest me much, especially after looking at what their skills do, which, bringing that up, inadvertently blocked their character bio, meaning I couldn't even read about them as people. It's laughable. So I can only speak on Jacob, but I was not impressed. There is a large skill tree to expand and upgrade, but you know what? If combat sucks and you don't get the feel of that right, who's gonna take the time to flesh out the skill tree to see if it makes things any better? But in the menus, another painful reality sets in, and that would be that this game is structured as an online looter shooter with different playable heroes. Some people love this style of game, but I feel for many, it's an immediate eye-rolling moment. If gameplay feel alone doesn't get the player on board, piling this on top isn't gonna make people want to stay, especially not me. And I know I can't be alone because look what happened with the Suicide Squad game. Look how that got delayed after everybody saw all that live service crap and was like, oh, we don't want that. And then all of a sudden the game gets delayed for like a year. Okay, yeah. See? People don't want this. Stop putting this in games. The other notable component of gameplay would be the cooperative multiplayer. And I can't speak to it as I don't have a friend that I would be willing to torture to play this game with me. But I hear bad things. Mission progression isn't tracked for all players, just the host. I've also heard of a game-breaking bug where people disconnecting from a multiplayer session have their character deleted. Yikes. Tapping into multiplayer also doesn't help the already struggling performance and technical side of the game. Now, Redfall does seem designed for people to play cooperatively, especially considering there's like different types of characters like support ones. So maybe that's why playing it solo sucked? I don't know, but still, those going into it on their own shouldn't be punished. Playing with your friends seems to be the right move, so long as you're okay with gambling your progression. Let's talk about Redfall's open world. It is barren and lifeless. There's very little in the way of movement. Not even the trees sway in the wind all that much. A bit, but not much. Despite being in a heavily wooded area, I didn't see any animals or anything of the sort moving around. The town itself was home to only those copy and pasted human enemies along with some very generic looking vampires, and nothing more. I never saw a landmark that drew me in, and even many of the houses are boarded up, unable to be entered, so there's just no real reason to waste your time exploring. Beeline for story mission markers and occasionally stop to unlock a safe house or a fast travel point. that's about it. And moving around the world is just so boring. I mean, I'm playing Jedi Survivor at the same time as this, and that game has you, wall running and climbing and jumping, all this stuff all over the place. Movement has a lot of spice to it. I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, but it's still something to keep you engaged with navigating the environment. Here, there's none of that. You're just walking around and it's so boring. In terms of quest design, not much of note either. I only played 2.5 missions, one of which was the tutorial, but things felt off. I've never played an arcane game before, but I know they've made some impressive immersive sims, rich with mechanics that create many solutions for the player to intuit. You don't feel any of that here. I think they attempted it. I mean, there's this part where the screen says I can either sneak into the fire department's main gate, climb to the roof, or lockpick the back door. It seems like multiple options, but going through the front gate was just so easy. I mean, I couldn't find a way to the roof, and I never found a goddamn lockpick throughout the experience to ever enter any of the sealed off rooms. So basically, the missions I played were go here, kill enemies, interact with this thing, come back, and nothing more to spice it up. So gameplay was a total failure. I can't even call it average. Like, if a game is average, I will see it through to the end, but this just was so painfully boring and below average, I had to get out of there. The gameplay sucked. Now, the presentation. I saw a few people on Twitter talking about how good this game looks, and that is utterly insane to me. I played on the Series S, so yes, I was on the low end, but this game only looks slightly better than Fallout 4 from 8 years ago, and it's capped at 30 frames per second. Textures look extremely muddy and undetailed, lighting is way too bright at times, the playable character's hands and other NPCs' hands sometimes look tiny and sometimes they're huge. Like, what is that? And at nighttime when you're navigating, everything feels like it's so dark and not in a good way. Something was just off. There's tons of poppin' too. I mean, check out this clip. I thought this was gonna be an enemy spawning in, but no, it's a patch of grass. What? It looks so bad. All of this is somehow locked to 30 frames per second. I get that the multiplayer is probably the reason for this, but holy crap, it's bad. How was performance mode not an option for those choosing to play solo? Navigating the menus was also stupid, clearly optimized for mouse and keyboard, not a controller. And again, I've already mentioned the poor sound work on the guns, the finicky controls, that the NPCs look stupid, and more that just detract from the game piece by piece, sucking out enjoyment drop by drop, just like the vampires feasting on your blood. And the craziest part for me is that I didn't even experience many of the bugs and glitches people are citing online. I didn't really have any in my limited time with the game. Piling those on top of the other performance issues, that's a heartbreaker. A recipe to see your game being called unfinished at launch without hesitation. And what else? The story. The best way to describe it is who cares? The game starts with your character attempting to flee Redfall, I think. Like, there's this girl narrating about how she had some kind of weird blood disorder, and all the rich and wealthy people came to her and said, give us your blood and we'll help people. And then I guess that turned them into vampires. I don't know, it's a little, hazy. They don't tell you everything. It just was stupid. So apparently everyone became vampires. They took over this town of Redfall, and now as you try to flee, the vampires freeze a wave, trapping all the residents in so no one can leave. And the frozen wave looks cool. That was probably the best thing in the entire game. This frozen wave protecting the city, not letting anyone out. But yeah, besides that, just very generic, very stupid stuff. So anyway, then your character is forced to stay in town. You're supposed to form a ragtag group of resistance members and do your best to take back the town from the vampires. Not a whole lot of setup and completely devoid of interesting characters or the promise of interesting storytelling in the future. Like I said, it's a who cares story. Maybe it gets better, but if it starts bad, who's gonna stick around to find out? So in just 2 hours of Redfall, I picked up on all of these issues. And I know I went through them fast and this is all over the place, but I had to get this video out there as soon as I could. I mean, I'm sitting here sick, but I had to tell you guys, do not play this. I'm sure I'm just harping on at this point because A lot of people are reiterating these same problems, and it sucks. It's such a disappointment to me too, because I really wanted this game to be good. I'm not some kind of, fanboy for either PlayStation or Xbox. I grew up with PlayStation, so that's what I prefer. But I want Xbox to have great games too. I mean, I own all 3 consoles, so I want all of them to succeed. And I wanted this one to be good, and all this stuff leading up to release had me worried, and then I played it and I was like, shit, they were right. This game sucks. I mean, I am so turned off from the opening hours, I can't be bothered to call this game anything but dead on arrival. And it really does seem like I'm not alone. The internet is really bashing this one, deservedly so. Especially, it's gotta be tough for the frustrated Xbox fans, those faithful who have been with this company for years, since the 360, and now it's just every year it's like, when are we gonna get a massive first-party exclusive that just lives up to the hype? When? It hasn't happened yet. And it's crazy because given Microsoft's extremely underwhelming offerings of late, this latest dead on arrival title seems to have had a ripple effect. Many are now questioning Starfield's readiness for a 2023 launch, and even if Phil Spencer should still have a job, Redfall seems to be the tipping point for the Xbox faithful, with many now downtrodden about the company's gaming future. If Starfield flops like this, and the Activision merger gets the kibosh, it's gonna lead to some real dark days. At least that's my thoughts. I'm still hopeful about Starfield though. I want that game to be good so badly. It feels like it's had plenty of time already, but I'd rather see it get delayed into next year than meet the same fate as Redfall. Regardless, when it comes to this title, folks, just skip it. There's a lot better games, indie and AAA, vying for your time and money right now. I hate to say it, but Redfall has fallen flat on its face. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this quick look at Redfall. So, yeah, I hated it. But if you disagree and you like it, I would love to hear why. Genuinely, I want to know what you like about this game and why it's clicking with you. So let me know, because for me, I didn't even see a glimmer of hope. There's not one thing that I can cling to and say, this is why I want to play more Redfall. And nowadays, when there's so many other games coming out that I want to play, I'm not going to force myself into one just to make a review. So, sorry if you were looking for something a little bit more on Redfall from me, but it's not going to happen. This is all I can give you. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing for more. Follow me on Twitter at NopNapNarp. Join our Discord, the link is below. And as always, have a nice day and take care.